All right, as we discussed on Washington Watch yesterday, Senators Schumer and Manchin have unveiled their reconciliation deal, which repackages spare parts from both the failed Build Back Better plan and the Green New Deal into one deceptively titled Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. I find it curious, though perhaps not surprising, that politicians on the left are barely pretending this will actually reduce inflation, but are instead crowing about the supposed benefits from the $369 billion in new climate-related spending. So what will all of this government spending, the largest climate expenditures ever taken by Congress, actually deliver? Joining me now to discuss this and more is Senator Steve Daines of Montana. He serves on 4 Senate committees, including the Finance Committee and Energy and Natural Resources, and he is also the founder and chair of the Senate Pro-Life Caucus. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Good to see you, Tony.
Let me start, before we get into the reconciliation package. It was supposed to happen today, but tomorrow there's going to be an effort by Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren to advance a bill that is designed to shut down care pregnancy centers all across the nation. Tell us about that.
Well, I didn't think I'd live to see the day to observe these radical moves that are being made by the Democrats. And it shows us, Tony, the Democrats are no longer, quote, pro-choice. They're just blatantly pro-abortion. And what this move they're going to try tomorrow does, it would shut down crisis pregnancy centers, fines up to $100,000 for any what they call disinformation that is put out. Do you remember when Joe Biden announced he wanted to have that the disinformation governance board? It reminds me of something that would come out of Russia or China, where somehow big government would decide what is true and what is not versus the people. This is an example of that. So it's going right at the heart of crisis pregnancy centers, these centers that provide so much care and compassion for moms and for babies. It's an attempt to shut them down, finding them out of existence because of what they might say. And I will tell you, we'll be down in force tomorrow objecting to this. We're going to stop it, but it gives you an idea of what the left wants to do on the issue of abortion.
And what amazes me, Senator Daines, is that these are about 3,000 of them across the country that are privately funded. These are people who give their money to help out women who find themselves in a crisis situation. They also provide for the children. And this is all being done out of the compassion and care of people's hearts. And those on the left want to shut these down. I mean, it is, as you're right, it's absolutely amazing. And it does show that they're not just pro-choice. They are pro-abortion. They'll do anything to advance their agenda.
You know, Tony, I've been a proud supporter of my sweet wife, Cindy, and I for many, many years of one of our local crisis pregnancy centers. I was a keynote speaker at one of their banquets to raise money. And you're exactly right. These are nonprofits, oftentimes faith-based. They are really a life preserver for these frightened young women, oftentimes, that are looking for help, for counseling. They're looking for somebody to give compassion to them. So really the passion of the pro-abortionists is contrasted to the compassion of these crisis pregnancy centers. And I'm just grateful to stick with the crisis pregnancy centers because we're standing with babies and with moms with love and care.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, I've been to your state, Montana, helping raise money for some of those clinics. I want to shift gears now to this reconciliation bill, this so-called Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, which, from my read on it, it looks like it's more of this subsidies for politically connected green energy operations. I mean, maybe I'm missing something.
Tony, you're missing nothing. You're spot on. At a time when our nation should be doubling down, tripling down on more made in America energy instead of kowtowing to Saudi princes or dictators in the Middle East, why aren't we trying to accelerate made in America energy instead? And it's stunning, Tony, with gas at nearly $5 a gallon, diesel at nearly $6. Why in the world the Democrats now would be doubling and tripling down on this Green New Deal? This is nearly $400 billion of a Green New Deal slush fund. This is subsidizing wealthy Americans so they could buy an electric vehicle. This is taxing, adding additional taxes to oil and gas producers. Joe Biden, instead of going to Saudi Arabia, he should have jumped on Air Force One and gone to Midland, Texas, gone to Williston, North Dakota, gone to Anchorage, Alaska, talked to our producers. I just ran into one of our major oil producers here in Washington last week. He said, Steve, we can produce millions of barrels a day of oil more if we just would get the green light and the incentive to do so. Instead of incentives, what this administration is doing is putting roadblocks in place. And now they're doubling down on this Green New Deal fantasy. Tony, this is dangerous because the people who suffer are the American people. Families are suffering because of the price at the pump, the price they're going to face with heating oil and natural gas and so forth, and electricity this coming winter. It's a catastrophe in Europe, literally a catastrophe. And now, instead of our government learning from the mess that Europe has made by doubling down on the Green New Deal a decade ago, instead they're doubling down today. And this is a fight that we've got to win.
So the taxes, this is additional taxes, as you pointed out, on oil and gas. Corporations, you know that you're on the Senate Finance Committee. Corporations don't pay these taxes. They pass them along to consumers. So this means that people who are already burdened with high fuel cost are going to have to pay more. And of course, we know that the energy sector fuels a lot of not just our cars, not just air conditioning and heating our homes, but so many products, delivery of those products, everything is affected by energy prices.
Anything that you have is plastic, comes from petroleum. It's oil derived. You think about farmers. Our farmers and ranchers are threatened not just because of the high price of gas and diesel, but the high price of fertilizer, which is oftentimes derived from petroleum products. So this affects the entire economy. It'll affect every American family. And it's just the insanity, this ideology. It's a religion, Tony, that the left has. They worship climate. They worship abortion. They worship identity. And it's really that trinity, that lens that they look through that invades every one of their policy decisions, as evidenced by this massive tax and spending bill that Schumer released late last week.
So final question for you. We're up against the break. Senator Daines, any chance this does not go through?
There's a chance, but it's going to come down to Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Joe's already said he's on board. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Joe right now because he has been fighting in the past. Suddenly, he just completely caved. Now it's down to Kyrsten Sinema. She's got some concerns, but this is going to be a fight to the finish. And I tell you what, it shows us all, Tony, the importance of one Senate seat. If we had one more Republican senator, we'd stop this. That's why these elections coming up in 2022, this fall, 100 days away, are so important. We're just one Senate vote away from stopping this train wreck. We need to make sure we have a big show, that our folks show up in a strong way in November, because every Senate seat matters, every vote matters.
Excellent point. Absolutely right. Senator Steve Daines, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Tony.